Thank you. They just sit on the bench, straight in the parking lot,
If anybody's tuned in, let me know if you can hear us okay.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll take whatever I can get. Well, this is my friend Will Carlson. He works in the DA's office. Did you get married? Oh. Did you just say? Oh, I see. Roberta. You said Roberta. Oh, okay.
You say my last name.
Right.
It's okay. Oh,
all right. Well, nice to see you.
All right, guys, you ready to get ready? Hey, you guys don't want to sit? You good? Hey, everybody in the seat. All right, let's get going. Skylar, have a seat. Hey, Skylar. Sit down. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming to the Sugar House Community Council meeting. Reminder, we're all volunteers. I just want to, will all the trustees raise their hand? There's a lot of us, so thanks for everything you guys do for us. All right, just a couple things. Let me put on my glasses because I can't see. Sugar House Pride is June 29th and 30th at the Locker Room, which is the old Fiddler's Elbow. Please come out and support the businesses. There's a lot of people that have put in a lot of time creating something Sugar House should be proud of. They're also looking for volunteers. It's 3-hour shifts, which isn't terrible. You'll get a cool t-shirt and hopefully have a good time. The hours on Saturday are from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then on Sunday, noon to 6. Just a reminder, I see some new faces in here. We're always polite to the presenters, so Sugar House should be proud of that. So please carry on tonight too. Sally?
It's that time. Heart Soul Music Stroll. So I've got some posters. I've handed out some wrap cards. If you'll just take a look at those, this is scheduled for this Saturday from 3 until 8, 3 in the afternoon until 8. We have 35 bands scheduled on 14 stages. We're blocking off all of Fillmore and Glenmere Streets, 10 food trucks. So I know it's going to be a toasty, warm day, but come on out and enjoy some good music and a lot of fun. And I want to take just a minute to talk about, okay, because I think a lot of you who've been here in the past are aware of Heart and Soul Music Show. This will be our 10th year. But there's a little bit, it seems to me, a disconnect between Heart and Soul, the organization, and Heart and Soul Music Stroll. So a lot of people don't realize that Heart and Soul is a 501c3 nonprofit that takes music performances into care facilities throughout the year. So this year, they're scheduled to do 1,200 free performances at senior centers, assisted livings. We all know the importance of the healing power of music, and these people look forward to that monthly or bi-monthly performance. Just, you can't imagine how it touches their heart that these performers will go into their facility and perform for them, so because they can't get out. So I just want to put in a plug for that, and also to say that if you're thinking about charitable dollars, they are a 501c3 nonprofit, tax deductible. I know you all donate to your children. That's your number one charity, but they aren't tax. Oh, yeah, they kind of are. It's tax deduction. But yes, so if you're thinking about doing some charitable donating, don't forget about Heart and Soul. It's Heart and Soul, or heartsoul.org, and you can go online and see how to donate. And then this is our annual celebration. Lastly, we want to thank the taxpayers, all of you, and the city for providing ACE funding to put on this music stroll. And I think I mentioned it, but this is the 10th year we've done this. And the Heart and Soul organization has been in existence for 30 years. So this is a big celebration year for us. 10 years of Heart and Soul music stroll and 30 years of Heart and Soul. So try to come out on Saturday. Should be a lot of fun. If any of you have businesses that you'd like a poster, I've got extra posters that you can put up.
This is Sally's grand return after a few months off, so.
What is that street again? It's not on the form. It's,
Yeah, it's right on the.
All right.
here we go.
Fillmore and Glenmere.
1530 East 20.
All right, I'm with Sarah Wilsey. I'm with Friends of Fairmount Park, and I have 3 things I just want to mention that are upcoming. Monday, we have our post meeting, which Sally may say more about. But we're going to have park officials come. We're meeting about the Fairmount Aquatic Center Pavilion, 6 p.m. So if you want to hear what's up, ask questions of our park leadership, come find out what's happening. We would love to have you. Number 2, there is the Yappy Hour at Fairmount Park on Thursday, the 13th at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Come bring your pet, come enjoy that. And then finally, on July 15th, we're going to have a talk about the history of Fairmount Park with Adrienne White, who's one of the trustees. She's not here tonight, but she's going to talk about the history of the park. Come learn about the park, enjoy time with Friends of Fairmount Park. Thank you.
Fire station, you guys want to come on up? Or you have to leave? Garrett.
Good. I've never met any of you. I'm firefighter Hendricks. Thanks for letting us share a quick message. Better? Okay. I don't like things close. With summer and the heat rising, some things to remember. Sunblock for you and your kids. Reapply like every few hours. The higher the SPF, the better. With the water, everyone's going to start boating, doing whatever water sports they're going to do. Make sure you always wear life vests, no matter if you think you're an amazing swimmer or not. Swift water, like reservoirs, rivers, we encourage you just to avoid swimming those areas. The current can be unpredictable and it just pull you under really easy. With pools, with your children, always keep an eye on them. And if you're not using them, put a barrier up. I mean, I know kids. I was a kid and I used to always sneak in the pool. What else? Oh, CPR. If that's something you don't know, we encourage you guys to take classes. That can help significantly before we arrive. Like getting any chest impressions will help tremendously. Other than that, any questions or anything you have for us? Do we do free classes? Not that I'm aware of. I know if they did in the past, I haven't seen them doing them recently. Anybody else? Awesome, quick and easy. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, fire department. We're going to kind of keep going with the theme. This is my niece, Mia Williamson. She's applying to the Salt Lake City Fire Department's February, what is it, the academy class. So she did a shift with station number 3, absolutely loved it. Draper really wants her, but I think she needs to come to Salt Lake City. So I'm asking the trustees if you like what she has to say, we could take a vote and maybe offer her a letter of support to include with her application. So here's Mia.
So, I'm just kind of here to introduce myself today and get to know everyone. I'm 18 years old. I just graduated from high school. I got my EMT license when I was in high school, and I'm currently taking the advanced EMT class at Salt Lake Community College, which for those of you who don't know, advanced EMT is kind of the level in between EMT and paramedic. So, when I was taking my EMT class, I realized that that was my passion and I wanted to do that. And I did a ride along with Station 22 at Draper, along with Station 3 at Salt Lake. And I just fell in love with both of those stations. When I was at Station 3, they really stuck out to me though. They seem really hardworking and they seem to really love what they do. So my goal now is to become a firefighter paramedic. I don't think it's any secret that Salt Lake Fire Department is the best of the best around here. I think they hold their firefighters to a higher standard and they expect excellence. And that sounds like exactly the kind of place that I want to be a part of. So I'm putting in my application right now to start hopefully to start their camp in February. So yeah, that's why I'm here today. Just kind of asking for some support from you guys. I would love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. All right, next, we're bringing up Sam. Come on up, Sam.
Derek, we have to vote on the letter.
The vice chair, come on. Shane, make a motion.
Shane, make a motion.
I move that we write a letter of recommendation for Mia.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I think you should be a police officer, but you should go work for us. That's what I do. It's okay. We pay them. Just saying. But we don't get to take naps, and that does suck. It's not a lie. I want that job. Okay, I wish I could take a nap. I'm just saying. All right, it's good to be with you all tonight. My name is Detective Sam Fallows. I'm your community liaison. I cover districts 5, 6, and 7. Sugar House being District 7. So I'm going to just go over a few stats. And just going to go over a few stats for the neighborhood, and then we'll take any questions you might have. So everything I talk about tonight can be found on our website, slcpd.com. If you look up under the open data for the crime dashboards, that's where I get all of my information. So we right now are currently reporting on the violent property crimes in the area. Again, you can go on, you can click on Sugar House and see the different crime stats. So the one thing I like to do, I like to look at two things. I like to see like the trends that we're seeing in the neighborhood, specifically the Sugar House. And remember, Sugar House is a very large area, right? So it's like all of District 7 is Sugar House, whereas my other districts have multiple different community councils. Sugar House is just one ginormous council. So keep that in mind. But when we're looking at May, and we was reporting the last month, so we have a full month of crime stats to talk about. When we look at the month of May, we saw 92 total crimes reported between property and violent, most of those being 83 of those being property. And so that's a good number because when we look back at 2022, we had 182 of those in May of 2022. So we're coming down very steadily with our crime stats, and we've seen this across the city in all of my community councils at least, which is awesome. Year to date, again, we're down from like 816 in 2022, 624 in 2023, and 490 in 2024. So we're steadily going down, which is awesome. So thank you. And honestly, it's the hard work of like our patrol, it's the dedication of our citizens to reach out to us when there are problems. Like it's really a group effort from everybody. So we appreciate that. Most everything is down, and so these are great things to see. we're coming into the warmer months, so I just want to remind everybody of a few things. Like, number one, take all the valuables out of your vehicles at night. If you have a garage that you can park your vehicle in, do so. If not, make sure your lights are on at night when you're parking your cars outside, things like that. We start to see the property crimes kind of rise a little bit in the summertime. It's pretty normal, but we want to try and mitigate everything we can to not become victims. So try and take things out of your car. I know it was like maybe 2 years at this point. We were having a lot of thefts because people were leaving their fobs in their vehicles and things like that. So just take that extra time to take out the extra, valuables in your vehicle as you're going in for the night, and just do your best to mitigate those problems. And it's not 100%. Like sometimes people just commit crimes, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. But if we can do the best we can to not be a victim, then that's going to help us. And then also, if you're seeing something suspicious, call us because, and when I talk about suspicious, I'm talking about actions, right? So I want to know like what they're doing that is suspicious. And I'm going to highlight a case. I've highlighted it before, but it's a good one that I like to talk about. Recently we had a vehicle that was just parked on a street. I believe it was Sugar House, and it was running for some time, like hours. And the neighbor was just like, "This is really weird. I don't recognize a vehicle. I don't recognize a person. Most of us know our neighbors." And it's just kind of an odd thing, right, for vehicles to be sitting there running for hours. So they called patrol. Patrol came out, checked on it, ended up being a stolen vehicle. There was a person inside that we were able to link to several other stolen vehicle cases. We were able to solve a bunch of cases just off a suspicious person and off a astute citizen calling us. So just make sure, if you're seeing something suspicious, like call us, because you're not going to take us away from something. Everything we do is prioritized. And so I always say, like, worst case scenario, we know that Salt Lake City gets busy. We understand it can be frustrating that we don't always show up right away. But for something like suspicious or something like that, no matter what, it's going to get like an extra patrol in your neighborhood. An officer's going to come drive through the area. It's a win-win, in my opinion. So if you're seeing those suspicious things, don't hesitate to call us. So really, that's all I have. Is there any questions that anybody wants to ask me? Sir?
Are our police and fire departments and EMTs, are they fully funded right now? I keep hearing every time the legislature comes through or happens.
Fully funded? Yeah, we're pretty close to our full staffing, I believe, at this point. And so, yeah, we're doing much better that way, absolutely. The city's pretty supportive of us. It's been good. So, yeah, we are working towards that for sure. I don't know about the fire side. Yeah, the mayor will cover that for sure. But yeah, the police side, we're doing good.
So I learned recently, even though I've been to Sugar House all these years, that the county actually owns the property behind the aquatic center at Fairmont Park. Not the city.
Fire pit area.
Yeah, the fire pit area. So I think Sarah was telling us this, that so I don't understand exactly what happens if you want to report homeless. Should we be calling the county in that spot instead of the cities?
No, just keep calling us. Another way, so there's a couple of resources you can utilize, and you might have utilized them. So the SLC mobile app, I've talked about that before. It can be a little frustrating.
No, I use it.
Yeah, but it really does go, I promise, to the right city people. And I can verify this because every Thursday morning we have a meeting and we go through all the camps in the entire city, or all the issues that we are having, where we can send out VOA to go and do like outreach and try and get services to these people first. If they're not receptive, then what we need to do to plan to do like an EIM type, like remove the camps, things like that. So it's a big process, but it's a weekly, ongoing thing. And so when you all submit on the app, again, it can be frustrating sometimes. I don't know if it's still doing this or if they fixed this, but it used to say closed, which means it doesn't mean that the problem's been solved. It just means that the submission has gone to the correct city division. So you can use the app for like if your trash can needs to be replaced, or if there's a down stop sign, or speeders in your neighborhood. Like you can use it for a lot of different things. It's a really cool app actually. But when it says closed, it just means that it's gone to the correct city division who's going to deal with that problem. So when it comes to the concerns regarding homelessness, you take a picture, you submit it, and it goes into a list. We go over that list, we prioritize it based on need, how big the camp might be getting, if there's elementary schools nearby, like all different types of criteria. And then we just work to get those. And then also as your community liaison, you can always reach out to me. Landon has my email on the website. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you can reach out to me anytime. And if it's, I can also reach out to our city partners with the Heart team and things like that, and kind of get the ball rolling that way too. So it's a great question. But no, just call us still.
No, and every time I've reported graffiti, I am just amazed how fast it's cleaned up.
Yeah.
It's a great app.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
So
previously, I think we had a whole conversation about speeding through the neighborhood. So
Yeah.
I was on 1500 2 weeks ago. One of your cars was there, and I walked by and said, "Oh, thanks for coming to catch the speeders." He smiled and said, "That's our job." And I think 90 seconds later, he was off, and he pulled someone up. So
Hey, that's awesome. Y'all are really easy on me tonight. We're getting good feedback here. This is what I'm talking about. Let's go.
Kids on golf carts.
Oh.
Now we're seeing them.
Hey, I didn't even. I don't know about that. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Just kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, just last night encountered in the dark, no lights. Yeah, it's like, wow.
Yeah, were they on the street or the sidewalk?
Oh, on the street. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's problematic, right? They could get hurt. So you could call patrol if it's, a major issue. If you maybe know their parents, you could reach out to them directly. I don't know, I don't know how
I
well
was
you know
just
them.
wondering how big of a problem it seems to be.
Just, yeah,
Just over by my.
just over in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know 100% like how big that issue is per se. It's not something that I get a lot of complaints about, so probably just to gauge that way.
Kids will be kids, but nighttime, it was a little scary.
Yeah, for sure.
It's against the law. I looked it up and it's against the law. They're not licensed. You can't ride a golf cart down the street. They go up and down Stratford Avenue and all the little streets in Highland Park all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not out at night. I'm just talking about daytime. They're not all the time. And it's against the law.
Yeah.
So somebody should get a ticket, like the parents.
You go find them, we'll get them. Just kidding. All right. Any other questions? Yes?
I just have a question. I just have a comment. I just wanted to give you 2 thumbs up.
Hey, grab the microphone from Roberta back there.
Sorry. I just wanted to say thank you. I was late to this meeting because I have a special needs grandson who escaped. I had 5 police officers at my house looking for him. Unfortunately, they found him quick and brought him home. I just wanted to tell you, thank you. We appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much. You're like the best community council member. This is awesome. Thank you all so much. We appreciate that. We really appreciate the support. It means a lot, especially in today's world. Like we all got to work together, right? So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Is there any other questions or anything next for you? Okay. On to the star of the night.
We have a spotlight on business. Derek's going to introduce.
My pleasure to introduce a new local business over there on 23rd East and 13th South called Man Up. They've got all the supplies for the gentleman in your life. It's probably one of the coolest stores in the area. So here they are to introduce themselves and tell you about their business.
Hey everybody, thanks for having us. I'm Carrie, this is my husband Eric. We own the Man Up Shop, close, straight down the street on 13th South and 21st East.
What do they call it?
No worries. Anyway, it's just a straight shot north. So we're Man Up. We are the #1 gift shop in Utah for men. So you've got to come in and check it out. All of you guys, all the ladies that have guys, come in for Father's Day. We've got an event running on Saturday. It's going to be amazing. We're going to feed our guys some yummies, and they can come in and pick out a great gift. And quit, guessing, ladies. I've got you covered.
Essentially, it's a great big gift shop. So it's belts, wallets, sunglasses, Damascus tools, everyday carries, snarky socks, and barware, and garage signs. It's basically everything that a guy wants. I mean, for me, I buy a bunch of stuff that I think is cool and hope everybody else does too. But the community has been very supportive. Everybody that comes in the shop seems to absolutely love it. And we love all of the support that we're getting. So if you guys get a chance to come by and see us, we'd love to see your beautiful faces there.
Questions? Anybody have questions?
We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, and Sunday, 12 to 4. So we're open 7 days a week. Come in and see us. We stay open late every 3rd Friday to participate in the Salt Lake City gallery stroll. 8 galleries directly across the street from us, and we're always running events to kind of keep the buzz going. We've been in our shop now 9 months, and it's doing really well. We're super grateful to Jen and Derek. We've got a great partnership with them. We carry their product, Oleo, in our stores.
We've got some other great collaborations going on, so we're super grateful for the opportunity to be here and to get the word out.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, so now we're going to move on to the mayor. Please, again, polite. Let's be respectful of all the presenters. We're going to quickly, we have City Hall here tonight, so we're going to quickly go through everybody in the back. Just introduce your name and title. But these are the who's who.
I was
Go ahead.
giving the microphone. Lorena Rufer Jensen, and I work in economic development and many of our staff members are here tonight.
Hi everyone, Roberta Reichelt. I'm also in economic development. I'm the director of business development.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angie Feldman. I'm a project manager overseeing business districts and special assessment areas. You'll see me at every meeting, so ask me questions any other time as well as tonight.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Pantel. I'm one of the project managers in the Department of Economic Development. My area is workforce development, and
Hi everyone, I'm Will Wright. I'm a project manager with Economic Development. My focus is on small businesses and local businesses and entrepreneurs. Please come get a card from me, say hi. We'd love to talk.
Hello, my name is Kiara Coley. I am a project coordinator with the Economic Development team. I get to work with these lovely folks and also hopefully a lot of you that may be affected by the construction and hopefully the construction mitigation. So, ask questions. Don't ask questions. Ask no questions.
Hi everybody, my name is Weston Clark. I'm the Mayor's Director of Community Outreach. Anna Barton serves on my team and she represents here at the Sugar House Community Council usually. So if you know Hannah, that is us in the Mayor's office.
Jordan Carroll, and I deal with communications in the mayor's office.
Bill Knowles, Community Ombudsman, and I just stick my nose in a lot of stuff.
I don't work with the city. I live in Sugar House. I'm a grandma. I run a home. I'm a
Andrew Johnston, I'm a senior advisor for homelessness community mental health.
I'm Nick Norris. I'm the planning director for Salt Lake City.
And I'm Mike Brown, Chief of Police here in Salt Lake City. Thanks for your support.
Ben Jacobs, City Traffic.
And I'm Mark Stevens. I'm the city engineer. I oversee construction throughout the city and all of our projects in Sugar House.
Hey, thanks for coming, you guys. Thanks for what you do for the city. I'll send the time over to the mayor.
Thanks, Landon. Thanks for showing up, everybody in the back who gets paid by us, by the taxpayers. Thank you for being here. I needed to do a disclosure. I had my eyes dilated earlier this afternoon, so if I feel kind of normal right now, but if I start, squinting at you, I'm not upset with you. It's not that. I'm just trying to see your face. So thanks for showing up here tonight. And it's very unusual, at least in the 5 years I've been the mayor, that we have this many folks from City Hall come out when I visited City Council. The reason is you got a lot going on in Sugar House. There's so much for us to talk about. And you have a fantastic representative on Salt Lake City Council in Sarah Young. I think mostly we're going to have a conversation, but I know there's some highlights that I want to at least give you a few words on before we do some back and forth. And I know I have the experts here in the back of the room with those folks who've already introduced themselves. So if there's questions I can't answer, or to my team, if I get something wrong, raise your hand and correct me and help me fill it in. Let's start. We're in the middle of the budget right now. City Council is considering the mayor's recommended budget, which the mayor always gives to the city council the first Tuesday in May. And then by state law, the city council has until about June 18th to approve the budget to their liking. They can cut, change, add things, and they're in the process of that right now. There will be another public hearing next Tuesday. I think that's June 11th. They had another one last night. So there's a whole lot going on, from library to public utilities to the airport to policing. But
let me touch on the public safety question that came up a moment ago. We are the only municipality in the state of Utah that does labor negotiation. We are the only place in Utah that honors labor unions in that way. And yeah, it is great. And this year, we are negotiating police and fire. Those are memorandums of understanding or MOUs that only come up every few years, and they're both up right now. So I can't tell you, because I don't believe they've been fully ratified yet, what the complete outcome is, but what I can tell you is that back in my first, 18 months as mayor, when the world changed a lot, and policing was under a tremendous amount of pressure, especially here in Salt Lake City, where we had almost 300 protest events between May 30th and January 7th. And our officers were out there for every one of them, making sure people could be safe while they exercised their First Amendment rights. Our department, public highway patrol, police departments across the state and across the nation lost a lot of officers. And we saw a low in our staffing that was affecting our ability to render service. And you saw an increase in call response times that made us very unhappy and uncomfortable. And that's true of our officers as well. I see Police Chief Brown is in the back shifting his weight when I talk about things that make him nervous. He gets a little squirrely. So you might need to get the microphone in a second, but let me just put it in a nutshell and tell you that back in 2021, I believe it was, we did the largest pay increase for police that has happened since the Didi Corradini administration. That was a long time ago, 30 years. 30 years. Especially our starting wages on officers had dropped woefully, about 30% lower than the highest paying department in Utah, in the state of Utah. I'm not talking about nationwide. So we did a dramatic pay increase at that time. And we did it with a commitment for all of our labor unions, AFSCME, police, and fire. AFSCME covers a lot of our other workers in the city. I made it our commitment as a city administration to keep our workers at the top of the market for Utah. Now, that's not something that is a comfortable thing for most city administrators, and you won't find another city in the state that is going to say that's their goal constantly. What it really means is with 3-year MOUs, you don't get to update it every year. You do a contract that lasts 3 years, and you come back and readjust it. And when we did that pay increase across the board, at different levels, but across the board, we saw a pay increase in Salt Lake City. It triggered a wave of pay increases across the state of Utah because suddenly we were competitive again. And you know we're the best. Our police department and our fire department is the best in the state of Utah, and they should be pleased. So here we are in 2024, renegotiating, and it is still our ambition to bring our workers back to the top of the market. Within 1% is technically how we define it. So anyway, know that that's what we're working on right now. The city council will ultimately ratify our end of that bargain through the budget process. Does that answer your question, sir? I think it was you. Okay, I think it looks good enough. And Chief Brown can tell us that we are on track right now to have a fully staffed police department, which isn't something we've seen in much longer than 5 years. Much, much longer. So it's really exciting. And to the gentleman who said there was an officer doing speed patrol out there, that's the kind of proactive policing that when you have a really empty department or not enough police officers, it's really difficult to do that. So I'm grateful to hear we hear those kind of stories. So budget's going on right now. I also want to tell you, we had a bear in the city today. First, just so you know, like 125, 150 pound black bear, a male in Marmalade district, not up in the avenues or up here in the foothills, was found up in a tree on a park strip. And our officers were instructed by DNR to try to make sure the bear stayed in the tree till DNR came. They tranquilized the bear, and as they were putting the apparatus, like the cherry picker trucks up there, to retrieve the tranquilized bear, he fell. But guess what? We saw a video from DNR. I think they posted it now on Utah DNR's Twitter feed, and the bear is fine. They did a medical evaluation and they released him somewhere in the beautiful open space of central Utah. So what a day. Never a dull moment here in the city. Okay. Wells Fargo corner, you guys want to talk about that? Yes. Unfortunately, we don't have any major updates for you. And Nick, I know you're in the back. If whoever in the back has the mic, pass it to Nick. We hear the ball is in Harbor Bay's court right now. We haven't received anything new from them. We hear that they heard the community council. They are very much listening to Sarah Young as your voice there. And I don't know, Nick, if you want to give, if there's any other update on the status or what you're expecting.
That's about all we know. So they did tell us they're going to update their proposal and submit something new. It's been at least a month since they told us that, and we've not seen anything yet. So not much to add.
Sorry, no updates there. All right, Lynn and Mark. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wondered, is there really any possibility that the 30 stories is going to happen? I mean, do we know that general information?
They could forward any request, but to hear them say that they are changing their proposal as a result of these conversations tells me it may not be as tall. But it is up to any property owner to ask for changes, but I think they're seeing the writing on the wall. I couldn't quite hear you.
Sorry.
It's not permitted. That wouldn't be permitted. They'd have to go through a rezone process. That goes to the planning commission, which makes a recommendation, doesn't get to vote. And the recommendation from the planning commission goes to the city council, and the city council ultimately decides every zoning decision that needs to come to that level. You're welcome.
Can that be overruled by the state?
No. I mean, theoretically, the state could overrule. I don't know, actually, if it's not state only. And Nick, have you ever seen the state overrule a local single parcel zoning decision?
No, the state can't. It would have to be something that would go to the district court. The district court, if it was essentially an illegal decision, which most zoning changes are really hard to prove as illegal. So it usually has to violate someone's civil rights.
And did you have a question here in the front?
Yeah, it was about zoning.
Okay. Anybody else on that piece? Want to talk about 21st South? Construction, speeding, cut-throughs? Where should we begin? Go ahead.
While I have you all here, I'd like to make a polite request. Every single day, I ride my bike down to 2nd and 2nd in rain, in snow, in glorious sunshine, and unfortunately, the roads are, pardon my French, fucking shit. So when I ride on 1700, it's like I'm going like this. The road is buckling. When I'm riding on 800, it is supposedly a bike lane. There's giant holes and cracks and potholes. And I just beg you that if we're going to be more bicycle friendly, we have to invest in bicycle roads that are not going to make me have 3 flat tires since January. Thank you.
I hear you. Let me respond to that first, please. In 2018 is when the city council had the chance to increase our sales tax because we got the prison. What a gift. And that's when we asked the community, what do you want us to spend it on if we do? And one of those things was improve the roads. So a portion of our sales tax starting back then in perpetuity goes toward enhanced road repairs. And we took out an $87 million bond, which if you come to community council, that the last big project in that bond is 21st South. And we have to get that money out the door by next year or we lose it. Since we made those 2 big batches of investment, the bond is, and Mark, correct me if or Lynn, correct me if I'm wrong, the bond is doing the worst roads in the city. And honestly, if you look on the Batmobile map that we pay to drive around the city every 2 to 3 years, it's this high-tech van that one person owns in the country. They analyze even subterranean quality of the roads, and they give us a data-driven analysis of every mile of road in the city. So local elected people are not politically deciding which roads get done and in what order. It's the data that's driving it. So it's really, you're right, it's about how much money are we putting in. And since we started spending that money in about 2019, the bond does the worst roads. The other batch of money does maintenance. It's the preventative health care. And so we have been increasing, and we increased our crews who can do that work. Since we did that, and I should rewind, we were in a constant downward quality, or we were in a decline. Every single time we did the analysis, our roads were getting worse. And the majority of our roads were in failing or poor condition, over 60%. Since we made these big investments, it leveled out, and it's starting slowly to improve. But, 2 winters ago, horrible on the roads, incredible amount of potholes. We started Pothole Palooza because of that. And I'll just wrap up by saying, I think we need another streets bond when this bond runs out. And otherwise, it's going to be a blip of improvement. We're going to keep declining. Mark, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just going to add to what the mayor said. We typically approach our roadways, fixing our roadways with data driven. And so the Batmobile.
Pull it up.
Like a rock star.
Like a rock star, he says.
Is that better? Yeah. All right, so the Batmobile that drove around kind of gave us an idea of where our roadways were in a very empirical way. So we can approach our worst first as we go through and we get funding. All of our projects that we've been able to accomplish, 2100 South, that's under construction right now, 1100 East Highland, as well as 1300 East South of 21st South next year. Are 3 of our major projects, they're all on schedule. And we're looking forward to getting all these completed, wrapped up, out of Sugar House. But the improvements that we make, we're excited about because 2100 South really did need to be reconstructed. So.
Mayor?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Hi. This is an update on the Funding Our Future projects that have been built to date. And I did want to just say to your point that in addition to correcting the failing pavement, all of these projects include safety enhancements and bike lanes or multi-use paths or trails, bulb outs, better crosswalks, lots of safety improvements to not just improve the condition, but the quality of transportation in the city. You can see a map, not the Batmobile map, that is online, but an easier to read map of all the projects that have been completed to date and the final sort of remaining projects of that $87 million bond here, and I'll just put it by the door on the way out.
Thanks, Leah.
It's also possible that you can connect with our streets team and find out which roads are scheduled for kind of what forecasted funding, whether it's this year, next year, and coming years. So I cycle to work quite often myself, and I know what you mean. You got to keep your eyes on the road, or it can be scary. Okay, yes, go ahead.
So regarding the streets, they are dreadful. The streets are absolutely dreadful.
Will you use the mic so the back?
Rockstar mode. Okay, so the streets are pretty dreadful, and I ride a bike as well, and I really hate riding it on the streets around here. You talked about funding. There is a funding issue, and the funding shouldn't be coming from bonds necessarily. The state dropped the this gas tax that was to fund the road repairs in the state back in 2002, 2003, and it's been stuck at that level ever since. So the amount of money you get from the state, I assume, has also dropped in that time as well. Is there any way that we can get the state to actually fund these things properly so that we have roads like Idaho, which sounds really bad to say that, but that's how we are. And really we need to do something, and we've got the Olympics coming. We want people to see the best. And drive out the airport today, that road is definitely not the best.
Yeah, the B&C road funds, that's what we call it, that we get from the state. We would love for it to be more. You may have a state representative in the audience tonight who's listening, and I saw her eyebrows move when you were asking if the state could do it. Oh, hey, we got two. We got Senator Blue in here too. So your message is being heard. Yes, please state, give us more state funds. Please, please, please. But I'll tell you, bonding is good because these are really expensive projects and we gotta have the cash in hand to get it out and we can rely on our own sales tax. Anybody else? I want to talk about, yeah, go ahead.
Still talking about road construction.
Sure, we could talk about traffic impacts, whatever.
Okay, 11th East, I'm talking
From Ramona to 17th South. If I recall correctly, way back at one of the Highland High meetings when they were planning all this out, I was told that from Ramona to 17th, they were not going to replace any water lines or sewer lines, the old clay line. They were just gonna pull up the pavement and repave it. Is that still true?
Yes. Mark and Lynn say yes.
So with all the construction that's gonna be going on, pounding on the streets, those old clay pipes are not being replaced. You won't be doing preventative maintenance.
Do you guys want to answer that? I don't know about that section.
No, you are correct. During that section from Ramona to 17th South is just pavement, sidewalk, reconstruction. As far as all the aging infrastructure for sewer, I don't think we've got anyone here from public utilities tonight, but they are being active. I think we're doing slip lining projects, as you've seen, along 2100 South that took place last year and is going into this year. So there are utility projects that are going to make sure, and we're constantly, as we go through our road construction, make sure that we're.
But you're replacing from 21st to Ramona because they're old and decrepit. So why aren't you replacing the whole 1100?
A lot of it comes down to funding.
There's also a public utility is not in the room, and that's Public Utility Enterprise Fund. If they were here, I'm sure they could tell you why that section didn't need replacement yet. We can get back to you on that if you'd like. Happy to do that. Weston, can you connect with her? Okay, thanks. Can we talk, go ahead, Lynn.
I could add to that as we reviewed that project, we did meet with public utilities. They reviewed the age of all the infrastructure. They did that for all of these projects in Sugar House and made a determination of what needed to be done given the funding that they had at that time. So I can't give you more details than that, other than that we had those discussions early in planning that project.
I want to mention that small business impacts of construction are not lost on us. And if you own a small business or you work at one, then if I were a betting woman, I would bet that you've met someone on the economic development team and you've seen him quite recently, and you've probably seen him more than once. We created the Small Business Construction Impact Mitigation Fund. It's not designed to be able to replace lost revenue. It's a $3,000 grant fund for small businesses to be able to get signage and wayfinding, do extra advertising, marketing, just to try to help keep the awareness that the business is there and please come in. That's my ask of us, as I know it is, because you meet in this really important community center of a small business. So we have to show up over this course of time as we finally replace the roads. Yeah, go ahead. The construction? Yeah, Mark is running.
Okay, so we've got 3 major years of construction for Sugar House area. Last year, 1100 East Island project started at the beginning of the construction season. Then you saw the sewer line work that was done along 21st South. That 1100 East Island project is going into the second year, in addition to the 1100 East project from 9th South down to Ramona. Next year, wrapping up construction will be 1300 East. That's a 1-year construction time frame. 21st South will wrap up at the end of next construction season. And this year, 1100 East, the entirety, and Highland will wrap up construction. So next year, you will just see 1300 East, south of 2100 South construction, and 2100 South construction. One of the things that you'll see right now on the south side of 21st South, there at the gas station Chevron, you're seeing work on the south side of the roadway. We anticipate all of that work between 11th and 13th to be completed this year, so that it's not going to delay the construction of 1300 East next year.
So the area where the DI used to be, where it was a bike place.
Sorry, the bike area where the DI used to be, right there on 11th, what is that building gonna be? Right now, it's completely empty and, yeah,
The redevelopment agency has not decided what that building is going to be, but I can tell you the state did invest in the completion of the head of the S line, which will come right through on the south end of that old DI building in the roadway there. And the RDA will be going through a normal public process with you all, with the community council, to determine what kind of a development we want to see there. So yeah, that's kind of in the queue. But you'll see the S-line construction coming soon too. There's still money in the small business mitigation fund. So that's why our team is out there. They're all nodding. $3,000 per business. I know it's not revenue replacement, but it's something. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So the businesses on 11th East, were told that the construction in front of their little businesses there, the ones across from the post office, it would probably be done the end of June. And I've had the businesses there. So I run the Sugar House Art Walk, and those are most of my venues right there. And I was told by some of those businesses that there was 2 weeks that there was no construction going on. I mean, they are truly suffering so much that they're just closing their doors because it's not worth being open. And they have days where they make $20.
So one of the challenges that we always have starting a construction season is the timing of when the contractor gets started. They understand the timing that we have and the deadlines that we place, but especially at the beginning of the construction season, as they are getting all of their other projects and this project in order, there's that little lag, and I believe that's what we saw in this case in 21st South. We've met with the contractor, we have pushed them to get out to start work, but you are correct. There was a time there for about 2 weeks that work wasn't taking place. We were communicating with the contractor constantly during that period to make sure that they got out.
I think Leah wants to mention.
They are scheduled to pave the east side of Highland Drive of 11th East in that area on June 12th, so next week. So they did lose some time, but they have completed all the curb gutter driveways. They're getting ready to pave. So if you go over there right now, it looks even maybe worse than it has because we're in the ground pretty far. I would also say there's a shocking amount of storm drain and water lines in that one block. There were fire lines, water lines, connections to each of the buildings, and then all of the mains that all had to be replaced. We can't do that on its own. We have to keep them all in service and then add new lines and then switch them over. And so that is a really slow and laborious process. And part of the focus on these Sugar House projects has been keeping the street trees. So I don't know if you saw, but they were vacuuming dirt around the trees so that they didn't have to excavate them out, so that they could try not to kill the trees that had literally grown around the water meters. So some of the work that we did do was really slow. There were also days where our crews came in at 3 or 4 in the morning and stopped early because they came in early so that we could keep the yoga place in water or the hair salon in water at different times. So there was certainly a lag, but there were also a lot of kind of shuffling around of things, hours and trees and things to try to keep everybody in service and moving at the same time. So.
Thanks, Leah. Anything, want to talk about Fairmont? I want to talk about Fairmont. Fairmont Park, let's talk about a couple facets of it. One is the parks bond that we passed as voters a couple years ago now almost. Some of that money is coming to Fairmont. $5 million is coming into the north end of Fairmont Park. And $1.5 million is for safety and security improvements in Fairmont Park. That can be improvement of sightlines for spaces that tend to be out of sight and unsafe because of that. Could be cameras, lighting. Actually, I don't know if it can be cameras. Somebody, Chief, do you know? I don't think we've ever done that. So scratch cameras, but lighting. So 6.5 total is coming into improvements in Fairmont Park. I am a regular at Fairmont Park. My family utilizes some of the kid after school stuff in that area. And I have seen how encampments are in a couple of spaces and regularly there. I've seen rapid intervention team come in. I think they were there today. Can anyone tell me in the back? They were there today. They were there on the 30th of May. They were there the week before that. It's on the regular rotation, but it's not enough. People come right back. I want to zoom out a little bit. Homeless services has changed quite dramatically in the last 2 years, I'd say, in earnest. Andrew Johnston is back there, and Andrew, whoever has the mic right now, if Andrew could have it in case you want to say anything, Andrew. But the state of Utah, with Governor Cox and with leadership from Wayne Niederhauser, who used to be the president of the Senate, retired, wasn't interested in homelessness. The governor said, hey, why don't you come work on homelessness? And he saw it, I think, kind of as a calling, and he really immersed himself in getting to know what is the situation. And everybody's pointing fingers across the state of Utah and everybody else. And what should we fund that's actually going to improve the situation? And it's that work and Andrew Johnston's work. Andrew and I served on the city council together. He represented District 2, Glendale, Poplar Grove area, and has been a social worker by trade for a couple decades. Sorry to date you, Andrew. And worked with VOA most recently before we hired him at the city. And I hired Andrew to work on homeless services because he's sick of stuff that doesn't work. He has no patience for it. And he's a very kind and a patient man. But when it comes to homeless services, Andrew's kind of done with things that just look pretty for a minute and waste money and don't end up resolving anything. Is that fair to say about you?
Whatever you say, Mayor.
Well, the state has brought a lot of money. Thank you to our state representatives who are here today, bigger than ever. And part of that funding is right now giving Wayne's office, Wayne Niederhauser, which is the Office of Homeless Services, about $10 million, maybe more now if Andrew can correct me, to buy land that can become extra low barrier shelter space. It could be it could take the form of RVs. It could take the form of a large tent type structure that people can come into. It could take the form of people who want to put their tent up and be in a more managed, safe situation. And the state is very desperately seeking a large piece of land in there. That's some of the work they're in. Can you give us any updates, or do you have any?
One of the hardest things right now is finding land and money, right? So generally speaking, places in the world that have done a great job at addressing homelessness have done a great job of doing housing. It's not really complicated. We know what works internationally, frankly, and even nationally, but it requires us to invest heavily in housing and services. When we do that, we can get pretty far along the process. One of the things that people don't really realize is we have not invested in services. At the state level, and for a lot of reasons, we have a 5,000 person waiting list for disability services. So we will pick up several individuals downtown who have severe behavioral issues. They can go in and out of treatment a lot, but at least 3 of them probably have traumatic brain injuries. And they've been on a waiting list for state help for years. We know our mental health system is great in this county, but underfunded and understaffed. We know that we have a massive housing shortage. And now the mayor loves me because I talk about the office stuff, right? As a social worker, I have a deep belief that we will make a difference and get better. We will. But we got to deal with what's in front of us right now. So as of today, what's in front of us is we have about 1,000 beds of emergency shelter in this county. We estimate, and this is based on state numbers and local numbers, that we need another 1,000 beds, 900 to 1,000 beds every night, consistently, to ensure we have access to shelter for everybody who needs it in this county. The goal for right now is for next winter to have that with the limited state funds we have. One of the things that's been an improvement this year is
Fairmark and the fire pit is an issue. We know that. But overall, we've had fewer folks on the street than last spring, partially because we were able to extend over 400 of the beds over winter through the summer, which is new.
Can I put a pause there and just say, when we started in 2020, there was no winter shelter. There was zero, because the road home had closed in August and the new homeless resource centers had opened, and there was no plan with the state, the county, anyone. And that's when this community hosted at Sugar House DI about 160 beds, 180 beds, cots. And since then, the transformation to the state paying for and leading on the mayors of the county of Salt Lake coming up with a winter plan in the summertime and securing the spaces is a pretty big shift. What's even bigger is that this winter, well, the numbers were, we had more shelter beds than we've ever had since the road home closed, and they've kept many of them open. We're usually, nobody thinks it's a good idea, trust me, nobody. Not the governor, not Wayne, nobody thinks it's a good idea to close those shelter beds at the end of April and say, we'll see you in late October when we open again. And finally, the state is saying, okay, we will pay to keep some of these beds open. And unfortunately, it's still not enough, but it's a pretty big shift.
Now, I told you the things that I tell the mayor and she gets really depressed because it is a hard job and you all know that. The things that are positive, I'll say. Even the last 4 years, we've needed more beds because we have better data. That's important to know, that the information is critical for us to know what our targets have to be and how to get there. That's improvement. Number two, more of the beds are open year round, and that's because of state funding. That's one-time funding. We'll do it again next legislative session, but that's an improvement. Number three, Davis County and Utah County both are required this coming winter to have their own winter services plan. That's important because we know a lot of folks come from outside Salt Lake County and Salt Lake City because this is where you can get services. And I don't want to back away from that and say, if we build it, they will come, because that's a negative cycle that won't get anywhere in this process. But having them step in is huge. Tooele just opened up their own homelessness campus in Tooele. It's tremendous. Go visit it. Those are positive developments. The other thing that's a massive change that I don't think people understand fully is this past winter, actually fall and summer last year, for the first time that I'm aware of, the governor and his office, the county mayor in her office, Mayor Mendenhall in her office, the private business entities, including the Impact Partnership and others, all agreed to a unified plan. That was reflected in the governor's ask of the legislature this year. That's why it was so big. It reflected reality. It didn't get fully funded. But look to the governor's plan this last time, and hopefully next year, and you'll get a sense of what we're going to need to do to collectively to make an impact here. And that is a huge improvement for us.
I'll give two things you should expect from the governor's budget and you should expect our legislature to approve. Permanent funding for homeless services, not one-time funding. Our homeless service providers have never been fully funded for their operations since they opened the resource centers. They've been running at a deficit. COVID pandemic and federal dollars that came in kind of padded that hole for a couple of years. That money is gone now. That hole is gaping. The governor's budget gave one-year funding. He actually tried to do 3 years of funding, but the legislature approved 1 year of it. It's still more than they've ever done, but we need ongoing revenue. What that means? Taxes. That's some form of revenue that doesn't flow there today that we have to have. Let's be real, we're the fastest growing state in the nation. We have one of the most competitive housing markets out here. These are two factors that assure us housing's hard to get and we're not getting smaller. We need to face this in a reality of ongoing funding, and the state knows that now. Housing is the other part. So you listed a bunch of things, and deeply affordable housing is another one. The tiny home village, do you remember those conversations a couple years ago? They are building tiny homes right now, and the city partnered with the state, and now the state is about to take under their wing the pods. Do you remember this last autumn? These are shipping containers. about 8 by 20 in size, divided down the middle into 2 rooms of 8 by 10. They're insulated, heated and cooled, they have power, they have a bed. And these are for those folks who, for honestly legitimate reasons, don't want to go into the shelters, would stay on the street otherwise. But the dignity of these pods is what we should be doing. And the state actually has the funds to grow that. It was a pilot that we did with them. It's been very successful. So the state is taking that under their wing. Did you want to add something?
The last thing, there are plans out there and we can put you in those directions. The one thing that doesn't get a lot of attention right now is Salt Lake County, who's responsible for behavioral health services, mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, those kind of things. They have a 5-year plan outlining their needs that's now public, and you can look at it, including the financial needs to get us there. And that's another blueprint as part of this overall collaborative plan.
I'll say Mayor Wilson is doing a good job on this, and you should check out their plan. To the mental health point, next door to the jail, which is in South Salt Lake, if you didn't know, is in the first quarter of next year, we'll be opening our very first mental health receiving center in Salt Lake County outside of Uni, which has a handful of chairs right now, like recliners, but doesn't have beds for people to come in off of the street and get mental health services. When this mental health receiving center opens, it will be able to accommodate you, me, anybody showing up on our own, showing up with family bringing us, officers or firefighters being able to bring people in mental health crisis to a place that's not an emergency room, because emergency rooms don't do mental health. That's not a place for mental health treatment. And trust me, within hours, most of the time they're back on the street. So the mental health receiving center will have at least a couple of days of stability and with the health care providers giving treatment. And it is the system's goal, not just Salt Lake City's goal, that the back door doesn't lead to the sidewalk again, but connects with permanent supportive housing. So that's the direction Mayor Wilson is really helping to lead. Questions? Yes. Hi.
Do you, I've noticed on the state tax forms, the Kirchner Homeless Fund, is that an effective way for the community to donate towards homeless in the state?
The Pamela Atkinson Homeless Trust Fund?
Sorry, I had it.
Yes, Pamela Atkinson is sort of the patron saint right now of homelessness services in the state. They named the fund after her that goes directly to services statewide.
I know you have questions. I can feel it.
Oh, you want to share?
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm just curious, we're building like crazy, like apartments everywhere. I don't get a sense for the deeply discounted homes available for people. So I'm just wondering, can you identify some of those places geographically, if they're available, or will they be available?
That's a totally legitimate question. She's saying basically we're investing. We talk a lot about investing in affordable housing, but where is it? And can you point to it on a map? Is that basically the question? The city, back to the 2018 tax increase that paid part of the stream funding is for roads. Another part of that funding is for affordable housing, which is part of how we've been able to invest in so much. And there have been about, I don't know, we're probably getting closer to 4,300 affordable units that our tax dollars have helped to create. And they're all mixed in, almost all of them are mixed in to market rate housing. So even if you walk down the hallway of the apartment building, you couldn't say it's this one and that one. Colony B is one kind of in the ballpark neighborhood right at the tracks and 13th South on the northwest side, just west of the track station. It's a white building facing south. That one is maybe 100% affordable, almost 100% with some very deeply, and they did some set aside units for youth exiting foster care who would be exiting into homelessness. There are few though that are 100% affordable across a span of affordability. Most of it is in existing, what would have otherwise just been market rate. I know Nick, I don't know if you have any info, but our community and neighborhoods team has been asked many times, can you just provide a map of these units? And I think it's something that community and neighborhoods is thinking about doing. Nick, do you know?
I think if the map's not available, I think a list of all of the projects the city's funded and the state is funded that are in Salt Lake City are on Housing Stability's website. They have a affordable housing tab, the dashboard, and I think you can see those projects.
Can I email you and we'll see if there's a map or a list up there? Yeah.
Hey, all right, hopefully that's good with the mic. I'm really bad with these. So I have a couple numbers, which is why I have my thing here, that I tend to forget. So when you first came into office, SLCPD's budget was about $82 million. So every year since then, you've proposed really big increases to their budget, like you were talking about. And if your 2025 budget is approved, it'll break $120 million, which is a 46% increase from when you first came into office. Policing is a very well studied thing. And at this point, a lot like the climate change discourse, the research is completely definitive that police do not directly improve public safety or reduce crime. Things like housing and whatnot do that. So over your term as mayor, despite these massive increases, you've done that way more than you've increased the budget for these other things. Even if you sum them up in aggregate, it would directly fix the issues that lead people to have interactions with police in the first place, which is usually poverty and desperation, things that lead them to feeling like they need to commit a crime or something, or do something that's criminalized. Why? Why do you do that?
Let me answer it in two ways, and we'll see if there's more there. First, we actually have increased our investment in affordable housing creation by more than 400%.
Not numerically, though.
400% increase in affordable housing investment.
What's the total budget?
The total budget was 17.7 million. That was just released by the RDA in March, and we do it on an annual basis, and that number changes annually. But in total, actually, I shouldn't tell you in total because I'm not 100% sure, although it's all over, it's been publicized. We've invested more than every administration combined before us. 4,000, let me talk. We needed to increase our police budget. A lot of reasons. We may not agree, but I will tell you unequivocally, decreasing the police budget and shrinking our police department for the capital of the fastest growing state in the nation with the strongest downtown recovery is not a good decision for us. Having an understaffed police department means there's very difficult time doing any traffic patrols, showing up to lower level crimes when they happen, answering the phone and giving you the kind of response that I think you need and you expect of your police department. How policing happens, we have also changed dramatically. And we put reforms in place in August of 2020 that have changed body camera, transparency around body camera, created the Commission on Racial Equity in Policing, and they have made recommendations. They are still there. The commission's still doing their work. They've had a carte blanche invitation to the police budget, culture, and policy, and that they can look nationwide or worldwide and say, let's explore what they're doing here, and I want to know why we couldn't do it here and what it would cost if it's a good decision. We take their recommendations and we've implemented pretty much everything that they've asked us to do, and there's even a holding account of money for future asks that the City Council has set aside. One of those things that's increased the police budget is the Civilian Response Team, CRT. We know that not every 911 call needs a police officer to show up. And I'll tell you, 100%, when the University of Utah has a football game and there's a ton of traffic out there, I don't want a patrol officer who should be showing up to a crime that's taking place to have to be directing traffic because the football game is letting out. There are a lot of situations when you could have somebody else who's trained in other things that a police officer is not trained in to show up. Chief, how many civilian response team people do we have right now?
16.
16 people. You see them probably, it says civilian response team, they've got vehicles, they're driving around the city. And another thing that we've added is our social worker program, where we've doubled the number of social workers that the city had before I was the mayor. How many social workers do we have positions? 19 social workers. So now if we do get a call and we can tell that it's something a social worker is better equipped to handle, then they go out in a co-responder mode. And I'll tell you, the Commission on Racial Equity and Policing has said, do you really need to send that officer out? Can you just send a social worker out? Social workers do not want to go out on those calls without an officer as their backup. This is the decision of the social workers, and we honor that. So we are growing the police department. We're growing their training. Culture City is one of the things that we've funded, that our police department and now our fire department, and we're looking at the library staff now, which is to basically engage with people with invisible disabilities in a way that is less triggering and is more accommodating of a safe resolution. And I think I've told some of you in the past, I've never been more impressed by the impacts of a training in our police department than I have with this particular one, where I've read police watch logs around the way our officers resolved situations, some of which were people in mental health crisis who also had invisible disabilities who wanted to die by a police shooting. And we're trying to provoke officers to do this. And I've heard from many of our officers that this is one of the most useful and impactful trainings that they've received. We are still open to learning about new ways we need to train our officers. I'll tell you one more thing. Commission on Racial Equity and Policing said, we want your officers to be trained on our many different cultures, unique experiences with this police department or with policing historically, so they can know how we feel when they show up, either because we call them or because they show up on a scene. That we may grieve differently, more vocally, differently. You may not think about this. There's different ways that people respond and react, and we want our police officers to not be provoked by this kind of cultural response that can happen, to be understanding of fears, and to be understanding and sensitive about the history that may exist in any particular community with policing. So these are some of the things we have invested in. And then on top of that, our officers should get paid the top in the state of Utah. And for 30 years, they didn't. So it does cost more money. And as the state grows and other departments are competing for these officers, we're gonna have to keep looking at the budget to make sure that we can keep the best officers in the state of Utah. And I feel good about that.
Okay, yeah, that's totally fair. And on accountability and paying them, we have been hiring a lot of new officers. Like, that's been successful since your raise. I highly encourage folks to Google Nikon Brandon, who was killed by 2 of those new officers, both making 6 figures their first year. It was within months of their initial hire. He was a homeless guy having a mental health disaster. He was wearing basically boxers. He had no weapons, and he ran, and they tackled him right outside of Fisher Brewing, and they held him down in the gravel, and they killed him. So for accountability, those officers are still on the force.
Hi, my name is Will Carlson. I am Deputy District Attorney for Salt Lake County. I'm only speaking on behalf of myself, not on behalf of the office. Having said that, I wrote the letter of findings that the agency was justified in the death of Nikon Brown. So I'm familiar with the case. In that situation, South Salt Lake officers took him to VOA to detox. Less than an hour later, he was running down the street unclothed. He ran into a bar, stole some beer, and when he ran out of that bar, the bar called. Police located him running naked in the street.
He's on video clothed. He's clothed. It's in the video.
No, I watched the video. He was clothed when he was picked up at South Salt Lake. He was not clothed when he left the VOA, went to the bar, and was tackled by police just because they were trying to stop him.
The death penalty.
While they were trying to stop him, he was reaching for their gun. The police only put him down on the ground until they could get him to stop struggling, at which point he stopped breathing. All the force that law enforcement used was to get him to stop running and struggling, and then he died. It was tragic. It was terrible. It should be preventable. but it was not a death caused by law enforcement action.
And we're not gonna, thank you, I didn't know
Sorry.
who you are,
I have to give up.
I didn't know what you wanted to say. Could have been about small business grants, we're not gonna go back and forth. This gentleman's gonna take the microphone, thank you. And I appreciate this, this is a good discussion, we don't have to agree, but I appreciate this. You're.
We do 2 more questions. All right, at 8:30, just out of respect for time, because I think people want to talk to these folks in the back. We don't get them very often. And then we want to hear from Sarah Young, and Lori Bray has something real quick. But 2 more questions if people have them.
Sally.
Back to the affordable housing issue. When we set aside units that are definitely made to be affordable within these bigger complexes, and then that gets sold, or 5 years later, a new owner, and then, or as someone moves out who is in an affordable unit, is there a process that we're guaranteeing that that unit stays affordable and that they don't just kind of flip it to
Totally. It's called a deed restriction. So it's tied to the property, doesn't matter who the owner is, doesn't matter how the other rents rise, that rent is restricted through the deed of the property. And it is enforceable by law.
And so someone would have to report, though, that there was an abuse?
Yeah, and we have people in community and neighborhoods who follow up on these. And in addition, I'll tap one more piece, the Thriving in Place plan. Thriving in Place is the city's anti-gentrification or gentrification mitigation plan. And there's 16 different actions in there that the city is taking on, that the city council has funded for us to help prevent displacement, help people who are getting displaced because their rents are going up, their buildings getting torn down, to find places in their community to relocate if they want to, and to connect with money to help them do that. And that there's a full-time person that's about to be in City Hall who is a renter assistant program. That person who, if you're not gonna pay your rent, you're looking at an eviction notice, your building's getting torn down, Salt Lake City Hall is there to help now in a new way, even in a state of Utah has a majority developer related legislature that makes it really pro landlord in the state of Utah. We're finding ways.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that.
I'm surprised nobody's asked you to justify your
Incredible salary increase.
Let me talk about my salary increase.
It's embarrassing for those of us who voted for you, even though I'm a Republican.
Well, thank you for your one-time support, even as a Republican. Let me talk to you about this because as an elected person, it's very uncomfortable to do a pay raise, which is why Ralph Becker and Mayor Biskupski, Jackie Biskupski, didn't do a merit increase in more than a decade. Everyone who works for me receives merit increases. And in Salt Lake City government, in which I am the CEO of 3 corporations, the airport, Salt Lake City Corporation, and Salt Lake City Public Utilities. We have 4,000 or so employees across these 3 enterprises. There's about 17 director level positions that immediately report to me. The current mayor's salary is 16th of 17. 16th of 17. And in the state of Utah, it is 28th of city leaders. And let me just give you the clarification. Most cities, well, there's more than 260 cities now, it changes all the time. But in the state of Utah, there's about 260 cities. Most of them, the vast majority, are called a weak mayor form of government, where there's a mayor, but they're on the city council. And the person who runs the city as the chief executive is a city manager. They don't get elected, it's a job. And they keep it through many mayors and many council people. Salt Lake City uniquely is one of our few strong mayor forms of government, and it has been since Ted Wilson's time. So I am the CEO. We don't have a city manager position. That's the mayor's role. And so when I say city leaders, there's not many strong mayor forms in the state of Utah. And so even the Salt Lake Tribune, in all of their wisdom, looks at city managers to compare to strong mayor form of government. So in the strong mayor form of government and looking at city manager form, this position right now is 28th in the state of Utah. The pay increase, the merit increase that I put into the city council's recommended budget, brings my position to 9th in the state of Utah and 9th among the 17 director level positions that I immediately oversee. 9th, not 1st, not 3rd, 9th. I know it's a dramatic increase in the percentage wise, 46% or so. No, I'm sorry, it's 46,000, it's 26% an increase. It's an ugly number to look at. But let me tell you, the job is worth it. The job could be paid a lot more. And I don't want people who run for mayor only because they're rich enough to afford being in this job.
So maybe it's like Wayne.
Calling. Calling like Wayne.
Oh, believe me, Wayne gets paid plenty of money. Wayne gets paid plenty of money. So if you want people who really the only people who can afford or who can put up with the hours and the workload because they've finished their career or they've been independently wealthy or they have a lot of financial backing and that's who can afford to be the mayor, that's a different city than I want to live in. I want you or her or that young woman who's going to be a firefighter to be able to say, if I want to be the mayor, it's worth it for me to step up and do that. And I'm not going to be at the bottom of the directors that I oversee. So yes, it doesn't look pretty and the Tribune doesn't help that, but it's the right thing to do right now. And believe me, at 9th in my own director level organization and 9th in the state of Utah, I think the city council and future mayors should consider pushing it even higher, but I'm not going to do that. You and then, okay, or I'll hang out. We can talk. You'll be our last question, and then our city staff here will hang around, and Councilmember Young will step up.
Hi, Mayor. Thanks for being here tonight. I just wanted to, I really admired the Love Your Block program that's here in Salt Lake City. If that was ever implemented in Sugar House, if it came to Sugar House, if that's a possibility, that would be great. But I would also like to know if there are any home businesses or residential businesses that can also benefit from this program or any other program. There was kind of like the 16 goals mentioned in February.
The Thriving in Place. That's a great question. First, Love Your Block, if you don't know about it, it's because it's not in Sugar House. It's basically a community funding program for community-based ideas like a community garden or improving a park or cleaning up an alleyway or painting a mural. And we started it on the west side with a grant from Bloomberg Philanthropies. And it's been so successful that the city council has supported our request to keep some money in there. They're small, sometimes several $100s up to a couple $1,000s. And now it's moved also into the ballpark neighborhood. So it is inching its way east a little bit. So it's possible that it could come to Sugar House. I don't believe Thriving in Place actually addresses any small business mitigation, but economic development team in the back there, you should talk to them. There are things like the building facade improvement loan fund that we have. There are occasionally some grant dollars, and you have 5-6 people in the back who are experts on that. So do connect with them if you can. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for your honest conversation. I feel best at community council, believe it or not. Love being here with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The mayor's addressed a lot of information from the city, so I'm going to keep it short. I want to make sure that as per the mayor's conversation, we are going through the budget process right now. So every single one of our meetings is available to be live streamed and the recording is available online. So if you have an interest in giving input to the budget, there are multiple ways to do that. First and foremost is that you're welcome to reach out to me via email, phone number. I'll be around. I have my cards. Happy to have those conversations or receive your emails related to recommendations or thoughts and feedback you may have. Second of all, you do have an opportunity to be able to live stream in the meeting. Sign up for Zoom. So you can jump on from your house for the formal meetings that start at 7 p.m. and then sign up to give comments specific to the budget or in the general comments section. So both of those exist to you. Last but not least, you can also come to the meetings. We do take public comment from individuals who are there in person, and that presents another opportunity for you. So just make sure you know about all of those different aspects of ways that you have the opportunity to give feedback so that ultimately we can represent that as part of the discussion and the vote moving forward. Couple other quick highlights related to the city. First and foremost, I know they're not here, but our firefighters did an incredible job protecting the homes around the Wells Ward when that building went up about a week ago. So I just have to say, if you've seen the photos of that, they rescued 2 individuals from a second story within that particular area, and they protected all of the surrounding structures and homes from going up in flames. I know that it's challenging when we talk about budgets and negotiations, but I'm telling you that these people put their lives on the line, and we have the evidence in our community to support them with the compensation that they deserve related to those types of actions. So thank you to the Salt Lake City firefighters related to that additional point of service. Last but not least, when it comes to some of the efforts at Fairmont, I just want to echo what Detective Fallows has shared. We are working overtime as a city to be able to make sure we're keeping that and other areas in the city safe. That does include making sure the rapid intervention team is visiting Fairmont at least once a week. I wanted to share that I drove by Fairmont on the way here to this meeting, and there were multiple city agencies that were out there working with individuals who are experiencing homelessness to be able to help address some of those concerns that we're hearing from residents. In addition to that, the city does have an additional $1.5 million related to safety, and so we are actively working on those solutions. Lastly, related to Fairmont, I have to give a preview of what's to come. I hear often what is with the tragic tennis courts on the corner of the Boys and Girls Club. Team, I'm telling you, Parks is stepping up. They are working with a nonprofit organization. There is a solution that is coming. It is a temporary solution, which still allows for the residents to be able to give feedback related to the improvements in a longer term fashion, but change is coming. And so I appreciate all of the advocacy for that. Last but not least, to the amazing folks at the city, you may or may not be aware that our wonderful Sugar House Park is getting a new pavilion down at Fabian. I'm very, excited for that. That pavilion got paused because there were some additional stormwater impact fees that needed to be addressed. The mayor's chief of staff, Rachel Otto, jumped in, made sure that we could work through the needs related to that financing and got that project back up and running. Additionally, the mayor's recommended budget for the upcoming CIP includes another new pavilion for Sugar House Park to be able to move that forward. So they're investing in our community. I am super proud of the work of every single department in the city to move this forward. And if there's things that you have specific concerns about, I'll be around afterwards, happy to chat with you. But thank you for your time tonight. And again, last but not least, thank you and round of applause to every single individual from the city. They are not paid to be here. They are here because they care. And that is important to me.
No cinnamon rolls? You're not gonna talk about the cinnamon rolls? Hey, Sarah, you're not gonna talk about the cinnamon rolls?
Have you had Dough Lady cinnamon rolls? If you haven't, team, this is where you get them. So those of you who may know me, I'm a terrible cook. I can't make anything. Like cereal is a win for me. And yet I can make Dough Lady cinnamon rolls. They're right here. You just have to leave them on your counter at night. They rise in the morning. You dump the cream over it. You throw them in the oven. You pull it out, throw some icing on. And I am not going to lie, they are life-changing. So do not leave here tonight without getting yourself multiple trays of Dough Lady cinnamon rolls. They change your life.
Wow, what a meeting. So I've been on the community council since 2007, I think. And, no, there's a big one. There's a big one right now. And we've had a few council members pass away over the years. And that's why I'm up here. Some of you may remember Topher Horman. He passed away a couple weeks ago. And I don't know the cause. He was living in Los Angeles. But the reason I know Topher is because in 2015, I was on a committee with him along with Lynn Olson, who I'm sure most of you remember, and Russell Pack and Nilo over here. And we put together a time capsule that we buried on Monument Plaza. That is, and I'm telling you this because I have been remiss, I haven't made a plaque. So you can ask Landon about that because it needs to be funded. But anyway, it's going to be open in 2054, which is the 200th birthday of Sugar House. I may not be alive still, but some of you younger people will be, right? So anyway, so Topher was very instrumental in helping with the time capsule. He procured a bottle of whiskey from Sugar House Distillery. That's one of the many things in there. If you ever want to know what's in the time capsule, hit me up.
It's a cool time capsule.
It is a very cool time capsule. So some of the other things Topher did, I mean, I looked at his Facebook page and people just went on and on about how brilliant he was and how he changed their lives. He ran the Fear No Film category at the Utah Arts Festival. He did that until 2017. And I mean, films came from all over the world to be screened there. He was part of the Utah Arts and Advocacy community. He was one of the founders of Danny's Hills, the LGBTQ film festival. He organized the Pioneer Park Picture Shows and was part of the Utah Film Center. And he worked for the Children's Miracle Network. He made a movie called Oxygen to Fly in 2017. I mean, the list is long. So I spoke with his ex-wife, and there will be a celebration of life for him on August 10th. I'm sure Landon can put that in the newsletter, but I just wanted to honor him. He made a huge difference in all of Salt Lake City. And like Sarah is so good at saying, last but not least, the Sugar House Art Walk is June 14th. And I used the construction pictures to make a poster this time because, you know, you got to own it. It's reality, and we just have to own our messy feelings, and we'll get through it. But these businesses that are listed on here could really use your support. And there's a lot of different places you can park and walk. And they so appreciate you coming. So come out the 14th, 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Thanks.
I just want to say thanks to Representative Hayes, Senator Blewett, and then Representative Briscoe's over in the corner. So we're represented by awesome people. So thanks to the city staff for coming. And we don't have a meeting in July, so don't come.
I already marked it on my calendar.
No, don't do it. No.
I'm sorry, I just really want to say one thing regarding police salaries, everything. It's very near and dear to my heart. I live in Sugar House, but I own a business directly across the street from a homeless shelter. 200 people, $275 in the winter on a dead-end street around the corner from a liquor store. And let me tell you something. I probably engage with more homeless people than most people will in a lifetime. Hundreds a week. They come in, welcome, unwelcome. It doesn't matter. But I see police every single day. And I have never seen police act with more grace and more compassion when dealing with this population constantly, over and over again, and never ever once complain about it, but volunteer to be on a special police force that actually monitors the areas where the shelters are, because it is a really tough environment, and it's a tough environment for the business community and the residents as well. And I can't even count on my hands and toes the number of times that they have saved me, my staff, my business. I have an animal care business. They have saved the lives of at least 40 dogs. When somebody climbed over 2 sets of barbed wire fences and shut off my air conditioning on a 100-degree day. So I really think that people need to be aware of how the police are making this effort to really serve the community in Salt Lake, and I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys. Don't forget the registers are open, and we'd love help putting the chairs away.
Dina?